Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, looking at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Hello, and welcome back. I'm your hostess, Amber Garvin, and I'm here with my two co-hosts, Kristen Hessler and Cindy Murray.
Hey!
So this week, we are talking about dining out on a special diet. And it is something near and dear to all of us because in some way or another, we are all on a special diet. And now that there are a lot of mainstream type fad, well, I don't know if I want to call it fad diets out there, but there are a lot of mainstream different types of diet like the gluten-free diet, dairy-free diet, bariatric diet, keto diet, low-carb diet. There are all kinds of diets out there that it has kind of become ingrained in our society to the point where restaurants and grocery stores are labeling things low-carb or keto or gluten-free. And I myself try to stay on a more gluten-free, dairy-free diet. And occasionally I will do keto, but I haven't been very good at it lately, especially since I recently went on vacation and I had every intention on staying on my diet and it didn't really happen. So what about you guys? Do you guys dine out on a special diet?
Well, I do. Since I'm diabetic, I do try to stay to a low carb. I will say though that for people who are, talking about doing keto is not something that you can occasionally do.
Yeah, I know.
In order to be in ketosis, you must stay on keto because every time you eat something that is off of the keto diet, you fall out of ketosis.
And it makes you feel very sick.
But it defeats the purpose of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, you're just low carb at that point.
Yes, you are just doing low carb. So, but I do, I say special diet. I'm diabetic, so I try to stay sugar-free as much as I can. My doctor did tell me I don't have to pay so much attention to like sauces on things or whatever, as long as it's not too sugary. It's really those carbs that are the hard problem. And when we first started going out, I really had a hard time because I like Mexican food, I like Italian food, I like Asian food, and all of those are full of tortillas and noodles and,
yeah, that's
rice.
my biggest problem.
And
I can't do rice or noodles.
Well, I can do brown rice, and I have found that a lot of places have started offering brown rice as an option. And I wish they would do like fried rice out of brown rice. Some places do, very, very few though. And I can't even name one of them offhand, but you definitely can make fried rice out of brown rice because it's just, the rice is cooked already. So I don't understand why more places don't offer fried rice as an option.
A lot of places are doing cauliflower rice.
Yes. I'm not a fan of cauliflower, so that's why I wish they would just do the brown rice as a fried rice. Because I want the other things that are in the rice in my brown rice. Yeah, like I don't want just plain brown rice.
The peas and the carrots.
Yes, and the egg and the soy sauce or whatever. And a lot of people say, well, fried rice isn't good for you. But the bad thing for you about fried rice is not that it's fried, because you have to understand the concept of stir frying. The bad thing for you about fried rice is the white rice. because they've stripped all the nutrients out of it, and there's nothing left but starch, which is sugar. So it just turns to pure sugar in your body, and sugar turns into fat. Fat does not turn into fat in your body. Sugar turns into fat in your body. Stir fry is a method of cooking that uses low amounts of oil and a high temperature to quickly cook your food. It does not mean frying in a deep bunch of it's not the same as deep frying. It's not the same as frying chicken. Your food is not saturated in oil. If your food is saturated in oil, they're not cooking it right. So keep that in mind when you're worried about fried food or whatever, stir-fried rice. It's not the frying of the rice that is bad for you. It is the rice itself. But when you do it with brown rice or cauliflower, but I prefer the brown rice. If you do it with brown rice, the rice still has all the fiber components that are part of the rice that make it healthier. And it makes it slow down to digest in your system, and therefore it does not turn into sugar. So it is a lower glycemic option that allows you to still have your rice without the bad effects. So that is an option if you can do it. And if you have a restaurant that has brown rice, that's a great way to get your rice with your Asian food or whatever. And I've actually switched to that at home, and that's my favorite now. I don't like white rice at all now.
See, growing up, white rice used to be one of my most favorite food, and this is why I'm fat.
That's Raina's favorite food. She can eat an entire pot of, like, the rice cooker makes like a giant pot of rice. She can eat the whole thing by herself.
The white rice and potatoes, those were my two favorite foods growing up, and this is why I'm fat.
Well, see, and I grew up eating a lot of potatoes. My dad was a meat and potatoes eater. We had potatoes, we had a meat, and we had some kind of vegetable.
So, just kind of like looking at like the topic of suggestion and how we throw around the word diet around. Originally we had slated like, hey, we're going to talk about dining out on a diet. And I wanted to just kind of mention that there's dining out on a diet, and then there is dining with dietary requirements. So that's kind of really what we're hitting on is
dietary requirements.
Dietary requirements. And there's also like struggling with dining out while you're on a diet, because yes, it is really hard to dine out when you're on a diet, but it also there's different struggles for people who have dietary requirements. And the thing that I thought of was people with special like religious reasons, like Muslims eat their meat halal.
Yes.
So it has to be prepared a certain way, like when it's butchered. And one of the things that I really liked about the city that I live in, a lot of the restaurants will have like a sticker on the door that says that their food is halal or kosher.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I really like that because that lets, people of that certain religion or culture know that this is a safe place to eat, because you could go to any fast food restaurant, and I can guarantee you that the fast food restaurant food is not halal. Like the chicken nuggets and stuff at McDonald's are probably not. I mean, I'm not all too familiar with that.
I doubt it's kosher either. So,
right, right. No. And so, like, I've found, like, I really respect that, and I like to, like, eat at those restaurants because I want to give them my business, because they take that extra time to make sure that they are offering food for that requirement.
I think often those restaurants are probably owned by people.
It could be. I mean, the Thai food restaurant down the street from us has a halal sticker on it. So yeah. So
more and more places are doing that, which is great.
Well, and more places are putting on their menu, like you said, gluten-free options or
which is nice.
vegan options. I see more vegan options,
right?
All
and I
time.
liked when they actually specify if something is vegetarian or vegan.
Yeah, those are two completely different things.
Right.
Yes.
Because there are things that are very much more limited and important to consider for vegan. So I do like that too, because I know that it's a challenge. I did go, oh my gosh, let me tell you about this. Do you remember whenever I was going meatless?
Yes, for Lent.
Remember, Amber, we did that. I'm
Yeah.
not Catholic, but I wanted to participate in Lent, and I decided to give up meat for Lent. And I was in town from college, the week of spring break or Easter or something like that. And I remember Mom and I were like, hey, let's go grab some bean burritos from this burrito fast food restaurant place. They have like a meat sauce that they put on their bean burritos. And I was young. I didn't realize that they put the meat sauce. I thought it was just beans and cheese. And I remember getting my bean burrito, and I got like halfway through it, and I realized there was meat sauce on there, and I cried because I had gone like almost all of Lent without eating meat, and then I accidentally ate meat.
But see, you know what? That's a good question, because that actually has come up for people before, like Jewish people. If you make a dish and you serve it to people, or somebody goes to a potluck or whatever, and they eat a dish and then they find out they've eaten something that is prohibited by their diet.
Yeah.
I don't consider that sin or whatever you want to call it. I don't think you've done any wrong.
You didn't do it on purpose.
It was not on purpose. There was no
repent
intent
for
in
that.
that. And so,
Yeah.
so for all intents and purposes, I say, that it doesn't count.
Right.
Against
But
you.
at the same time, if you're, an actually like gluten,
But it is on you to
yes.
be aware. It
But-
is.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. I mean, if you go to a restaurant and it doesn't say that it has gluten in it, but you do ask the waiter and they don't know, and they're like, no, it doesn't. And then you eat it and then you have gastrointestinal distress. That sucks. That's
does.
almost as
It
worse
does.
as feeling bad because you felt like
Yeah.
you failed
Well,
the
and-
challenge you set for yourself.
And that comes from different restaurants. They don't.
Well-
There are people who don't know. I went to a cheesecake factory in L.A. or Anaheim, and I asked for. I'm diabetic, so I asked for if they had a sugar-free cheesecake on their menu, because their menu is extensive, and
like
and
20
it's
different
dark,
cheesecakes.
and I couldn't read the menu in there, and so I just asked the waiter, "Do you have a sugar-free one?" And thinking he would know, right? And he said, "No, we don't. But what we do have is this one, and it had Splenda in it." And I'm like, "Do you
That's
not know
Sugar-free.
that's sugar-free?" So I kind of, it really is up to you as the consumer to know what is supposed to be in the food and
Right.
what is not, and to kind of keep an eye on that.
So that brings it back to the discussion about, dining out on a diet and dining with dietary requirements. What are some of the things that you can do, or what are things that we do to make sure that we are finding safe places to eat?
Okay, so I like a lot of dairy makes me sick. Like say ice cream makes me sick, yogurt makes me sick. And while on vacation a while back, my boyfriend's sister-in-law has the same problem. And my boyfriend's mom, she brought up, hey, let's go to this milkshake bar place. And we both looked at each other and were like, ice cream really doesn't sit well with us, because if I eat ice cream, I'll throw it up. And so we looked on their menu ahead of time, and they had a dairy-free and gluten-free section that
That's
you
cool.
can get a dairy-free, gluten-free milkshake. And we were like, okay, then we can go. So we picked out what we wanted ahead of time, and made sure they got it from that section of the menu.
Yeah,
and that's one thing that you can do is pick out what you, if you know where you're going, pick out what you want ahead of time.
Yeah, and Ashley and I do that a lot. My niece Ashley, she's not so much on a special diet now, but she was doing a meat-free, no red meat for a while also. And she and I both
Been there.
look ahead at the menus. You know, if we're going to a place we're not familiar with, we look ahead to the menu to see what they have that we can eat. And you know, if they don't have something that works for us, we just don't go there. So, so that we're not tempted to eat something that we can't have, because it's easier to go to a place that has food that is already prepared.
Yeah.
That accommodates your diet than it is to go to a restaurant and ask them to prepare your food a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I've run into that. I do sometimes still go to a restaurant and say, can you put this on the side? Can you leave this off? Can you whatever? And you know, it's 50-50 whether they remember to do it or not. You know, I go to a burger place, I ask for no bun, and then just squirt the mustard or whatever on the burger itself, and it'll come with the buns on it and the mustard's on the bun. You know, and it's like, well, I can't even scrape that off and put it on the burger. So you just kind of have to know what the different restaurants are going to do.
And you need to do research on
Yes.
the restaurant, especially if you are vegetarian and you like the Beyond Meat patty. You really need to do research on the restaurant, because my boyfriend is a chef and they serve Beyond Meat at his restaurant, but they cook it on the same grill that they cook the regular burgers.
Right. So if you're vegan, you do not want to consume that because it has come in contact with animal product.
Right.
And the same with like what is it, Burger King? That has a Beyond Meat burger. They cook it on the same grill as their regular burgers. So you're still getting meat juice on your Beyond Meat burger.
Interesting. That's a really good thing to consider.
Are you sure that's true about Burger King? Because it was my understanding that their meat comes pre-cooked and they just heat it up.
Possibly. I know that they heat it up in the microwave, though?
No, I don't know how they heat it
don't
up.
They just...
But I think like all the flame broiling is done at their factory, that they prep all the meat ahead of time.
Well, I know they do like heat it up on the top. Like when I used to work at Brahms, we would have pre-cooked stuff also, and we would pop it on the grill to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So,
but still, that would constitute it.
And
being
now,
cooked
you
on
know,
the meat grill. Yeah.
It raises an interesting question though, because you would think that they would set aside one section of the griddle actually, to do that on, so that it doesn't contaminate those other, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you would think, but I think it's. I don't want to call it like I think it's because
they just don't think about it.
They don't. Yeah, they don't think about it. And most of your cooks, unless you get a vegetarian cook at a vegetarian restaurant,
right,
most of them don't think about it. And then or like the cross contamination or whatever, most of them don't think about it. And that's also a few and far between order. I think, especially if you're vegan.
I think that really all of this stuff is, it just comes as we learn about it.
Well,
People
it does,
don't
yes.
realize like, oh, that cross contaminates. I mean, that's why kids can only bring certain prepackaged foods to school now instead of home baked,
because of chocolate and
we
nuts and
we
things
start
like
to
that.
learn things as we go.
Because
they
we used
also
to have peanuts
disclaimers at restaurants now, like this is cooked where things could possibly be touched by peanuts or whatever.
But I will note though that there are some cultures where the culture itself has those food
guidelines,
regulations or whatever, that they very often are very careful and aware of that cross contamination. I would say Indian food is probably one. A lot of the Buddhist community, because there are non-meat eaters, non-beef eaters. There are vegetarian Indians, and some restaurants will serve vegetarian food and non-vegetarian food, and they are very careful about not contaminating those because that is part of their culture. And same with the halal. They're very careful to follow those restrictions carefully. So if you're going to an ethnic restaurant, you are going to be far more likely to get the actual restrictions and the stuff that's prepared in the way that you expect than you would be at a Chili's or a chain restaurant of some sort.
Or fast food.
Or fast food, yes.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing with fast food too. Also, I mean, if you think about it, like if you're, a vegan, you probably wouldn't want to eat the French fries at McDonald's. I don't think they use the same fry oil, but you never know. They might have dumped some chicken nuggets in there.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I've never worked at McDonald's.
I know a long
to
time
ask.
ago
It's
the
something to
restaurants did do things like that.
Yeah.
They had one fryer and everything went in that same fryer.
That's
but
how
I
it
think
was.
That's
nowadays
the way it was at churches when I worked.
Yeah.
The
At
fry
Brahms,
baskets.
everything
We
was
also
fried
did
together. Yeah,
we did some of the other things that
yeah.
were not like the main fried chicken. Those were that had
the
their own
fried
separate
chicken
fryers.
had their own fryer. Yeah.
But everything else was cooked in this other fryer, the okra and
which
stuff like
which
that.
explains why you sometimes get a
okra
French
in your
fry
French
in your
fry.
onion ring or an
Exactly.
okra in your French fry or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's definitely something that would be worth asking. And I think as we become more aware of things, I mean, just look at 100 years ago, we did not have refrigeration and we were eating spoiled meat.
Ugh.
And we were using salt to preserve it.
Yeah.
So we've come a long way, and now we have, FDA and all of these guidelines, health inspectors, and
and they quit cooking in peanut oil.
the Heart Association. I believe it was the Heart Association that had restaurants stop cooking their French fries in meat.
Oh yes,
fats,
because they use meat
because
fats
they
for a long time.
identified that was a cause
Right.
of heart health. So if you really think about it, like those are dietary requirements that people, humans as a whole, require food industry to adapt
Well,
and
and
change the way they prepare food for our health.
As consumers
collectively.
demand more and more accommodations, they see that it is profitable to their companies to provide for those accommodations. So don't
Yeah.
be afraid to ask. When you go in a restaurant, if you don't know how it's prepared, ask. Does this have butter on it? Does this have cheese on it?
Yeah.
Was it cooked on a grill where you cook meat, or was it cooked on a separate stove or whatever? And ask those questions. Be proactive for yourself, and then also look at the ingredients list. Look ahead, know what you're getting into.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing. You can usually find stuff to accommodate you in some way or another. I go to Mexican food restaurants. I can get fajitas. That's less tortilla. I can eat the meat without the tortilla if I want, or I can have a little corn tortilla instead of that yummy flour tortilla. I'm not going to be eating that fried chimichanga, but I can still eat Mexican food. There's steaks, there's grilled shrimp things. You can go to an Italian restaurant and have dishes that are not pasta. You can have dishes that don't have cheese.
which is nice, especially I definitely miss Italian food.
That's one of the hard ones. It is.
That is one of the hard ones, and I just I cannot. Noodles make me sick, so I definitely have to look ahead on a menu if I'm going to an Italian restaurant to see if there is anything else I can eat.
Right.
But remember when we went to Las Vegas and we shared the meatballs? Those were so good.
That is one thing I like about Italian restaurants is that they'll just serve meatballs.
Yeah. Or shrimp. You can have shrimp scampi for dinner. Just don't.
Yeah, there's an Italian place by my house that has it's like a seafood appetizer. So it's got different kinds of sauteed in lemon sauce seafood, and it's really nice. And I'll get that instead of something with
instead of spaghetti.
But the Italian restaurant by my house also has a gluten-free or noodle-free section in their menu now, where
That's
cool. Where you can get Italian chicken without the noodles.
To kind of go on what you were saying about encouraging to ask what's on the food. Not just for your benefit, but when you voice your opinion and ask questions, that lets the restaurants know, hey, people are interested in this.
Yes.
Our customers want gluten-free. Our customers want vegan items.
Yes.
When you let them know that that's what you're looking for, and they have day-to-day, everyday people asking for that, then they will start offering those things. They don't know that's what people want until they start demanding it. And speaking of demanding, you were talking about getting a hamburger with the bun. And for me, I am just like, if the bun's there, I'm going to eat part of it.
Oh, I know. That's
you know
why
what?
I ordered
Send it
without
back. That you have every right. If you told them that I want a lettuce wrapped burger and they send it with a bun, send that burger back and have them take that bun off.
Take that bun off and put the mustard on your meat like you asked for.
You are paying for it. You have a dietary requirement that you do not need to be presented bread because you will eat it if you see it.
Yeah. See, I went to a food truck the other day and they served burgers. Well, their main thing was like egg on it or something like that. Everything came with an egg.
Yeah.
And it was mostly burgers and other things. And I told them, I said, can I not have the bun on this? And he actually was like, okay, I do this for people all the time. And he was very accommodating. He added extra lettuce and spinach and stuff like that and made it kind of into a burger salad.
And there's a lot of places who do that. They actually have a bunless burger on their menu now. Mm-hmm. And I love that. Why is it so hard? I don't know. But yeah.
And they also offer a gluten-free bun now. A lot of places do, which is nice.
That is nice for people who want the bun and can't have it. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I know people that are really like they cannot have gluten at all. I try to stay gluten-free just because it makes me less bloated if I do gluten-free.
Yeah. Well, because the only way you're going to get gluten is through bread products anyway, wheat products. So,
right.
But
you have to be careful because a lot of salad dressings and things like that have it.
Yes.
And some companies use it as fillers. Like I used to work in the deli, and believe it or not, when you get lunch meat and stuff, you should also ask, at the deli, they can look at the product packaging. Mm-hmm. Some of the companies that make deli meats to be sliced there in the store actually have gluten in them. So you have to ask.
Interesting.
So that you don't.
It's a filler or it's a thickener.
It is.
They use it as a thickener. Mm-hmm. That's why you have to be careful. They use it to
bind the meat together to make them into those giant pieces that they slice into.
So you have to watch out for that. You also have to watch out for sugar in things if
Hidden
you are
sugars,
diabetic, because there's a lot of hidden sugar in a lot of things.
Yeah.
And they don't always call it sugar. They might call it fructose or
reminded me,
sucrose.
You can go to just about, you can't do it with mom and pop restaurants, so those you have to just get cozy with the owners or the cooks and those staff there, and
which
get
is
them
not a
to
bad
go
thing.
Yeah, no, they're definitely awesome. But the nice thing about chains is that you can go online and actually look at their content on their food, because a lot of people think,
the nutrition data.
I'm on a diet, so I'm going to get that salad
the salad is the worst.
What is one of the worst ones? Like Chick-fil-A, it is so good, the Southwest Cobb salad, but the dressing has like 40 grams of fat in just the ranch.
Right.
Something crazy like that. So you really, talking about
need to know what's in it.
Going and looking ahead of time. If that's the food option, then you should go online.
I can't remember if it's Chili's or Applebee's or one of those places. They have a salad that has 1,100 calories.
Is it the quesadilla explosion
Yes.
salad?
Yes.
That has the quesadillas on top of
that's
it.
Chili's.
I knew. Yeah, that's Chili's. I knew exactly what you were talking about.
I was ordering that and thought, oh, this is healthy. It's a salad.
It's
got a quesadilla on
It's
it.
got 1,100 calories. That
All the
for
cheese
somebody
and
who is on a diet,
dressing.
that's almost their whole day's worth of calories.
Yeah, for Amber and I,
One.
that's more than what we should have.
Yeah, that's
one
more
day
than-
for our bariatric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
More
I
than a
get
whole day.
Yeah, most people on a diet get like 1,200 or 14.
Yeah.
So that's just telling you right there. That
So
is
dining
not
on a
good idea.
diet is very challenging if you are on an actual diet
Oh,
where you're trying to
yes.
lose weight, dining out. So you want to, like, if you're actually on a diet, obviously you're going to have like specific dietary requirements that hopefully you are seeing a dietitian or your doctor is giving you a diet to follow. But the things to avoid are salad dressings, heavy like dressings at restaurants, sauces at restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
Even marinara sauce sometimes can have a lot of sugar, which
in
will be
it,
high
yes.
caloric.
Lots of sugars, lots of oils in those sauces.
And then you also have to consider portion size. So, like, we went to a Mexican food restaurant the other day, and I got a meal. It had 3 enchiladas on it and beans and rice, and it was a platter of food. Way more food than I would have ate at home, even before bariatric.
Right.
So keep in mind, like, portions when you go out to eat at a restaurant, they are oftentimes giving you way more food than you need. And some restaurants give you twice as much. Like, sometimes they'll have 2 pieces of chicken on their meal. So even though you are getting like the healthy grilled lower calorie option, it can still be
The portion size is
too
too
much
big.
food.
Well, and what the deal with that is that they've set a price point where they can be profitable. And so in order to be profitable, they need to sell plates that are valued at like $16 to $18 a plate.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want to serve you one enchilada and a bunch of beans and some rice,
Right, because
for
the cost of beans
$8
and
because
rice is
they're
like
not
nothing.
meeting that cost effective.
Right.
So they would rather overserve you the food so that they can make that
$16 a plate
$16
instead
plate.
of $7. Yes.
Yeah, and so keep that in mind. A lot of times it's a double sized portion. I like to my mother's tip. She lost a couple 100 pounds doing this. She had struggled with a lot of different things, but she started asking for a to-go box, and she would take half of her food and put it in the to-go box, and
Then she would eat.
And so she would, she only ate half of her meal, and then she'd take the rest of it home to eat again later or feed to her dog or whatever it was. So,
Oh my gosh. Another story for another
that's a
day.
whole other story. But she did only eat half of her food at every meal, no matter where she went. And so she lost, like I said, 200 pounds that way. And so that was a really good way to do it. And I try to do that. Sometimes the food is just so good, it's hard to make yourself stop.
And you ask for a box, and then
that's
it takes forever for them to bring the box.
And so you're still sitting
Still
there
picking
eating
at
while
it.
you're waiting on the box.
Guilty.
See,
And that's why
usually-
you get the box first.
Yeah, I usually
And
ask
dish it up.
for it to go first, and then I
Yes.
take some out and put it on a plate.
Yeah, and that works as well. So, but that is one way to deal with that. But yeah, those portions at restaurants are not
Appropriate
portion
human
size. Yes.
proportion.
Especially if you go to Cheesecake Factory.
Oh.
You can always get your friend to go with you, and then you can share a meal. That's what
And
Mom
we've
and I
done
did
that.
one time.
We've
We
done that
shared a
too.
dinner plate at Cheesecake Factory so that we could.
My mom and I used to
Eat a
do that
dessert.
also, like a Papados.
Mhm.
Their
Oh, yeah,
big
that's one of
fried
the-
platter.
That is one of the restaurants I was referencing where they give you twice as much. So, like,
Yeah.
There's this like Brinker International. There's a lot of different restaurants that they own, and all of their restaurants serve
Chili's, Macaroni Grill.
a lot of them serve 2 chicken breasts or 2 fillets of the fish. It's a huge portion. It's literally like 2 meals.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're getting your money's worth out of it, but not if you eat it all in one serving.
No, yeah.
Or one sitting.
And
So, yeah.
a lot of people will do that.
Well, yeah,
really.
because they don't think about it being 2 servings worth of food. It's a plate of food set in front of you, and it's usually a larger plate,
Right.
Also, so
Well, and we all were raised with that culture that
you
there's
have to
people
clean your plate,
and
yes.
people are starving in China. Don't waste your food.
Yes, so don't waste it. Pack it up, take it home.
Don't make yourself eat it.
Yeah, or share it with somebody else. I went to Chipotle the other day. I love their little bowls that they do. I don't like the burrito because it's just too messy. But I like to get the bowl. But the bowl is actually 2 servings worth of salad and rice and beans and all that. And so, eat half of it. Take the rest home. So that's one of my favorite tips for eating out on a diet or with dietary restrictions or whatever.
Yeah. Definitely. And a good tip when you're talking about salads and the calories and stuff like that, a good tip I learned when I was in Weight Watchers is get the salad dressing separate, and then when you're going to take a bite, just dip your fork into it a little bit and then get
Instead of
the
pouring it.
salad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another thing, a friend of mine who she likes salads a lot, but she has eliminated salad dressings from her diet, is to just do, I don't even know if she does oil, but do a little bit of healthy oil, like an olive oil, because you need those healthy fats, and squeeze some lemon juice on it. It makes a delicious salad dressing. You can't believe how good it is.
You can, get some
Lime.
balsamic vinegar
Yes.
and a little bit of lemon also, and make a pretty good, or lime, and make a pretty good salad dressing out of that.
Yep.
And just a little dab of the brown mustard makes a pretty good
yes.
salad dressing.
Or if you want a creamy one, a really good way to do it, I mean, you could probably do this at the restaurant. People might look at you funny, but you take the sour cream and then you squeeze some lime in it and kind of like swirl that together. We do it at home, but we add a little bit of milk to thin it out. But it makes a really good
the Hello Fresh
ranch-like
recipe.
salad dressing.
The Hello Fresh recipes often have that, and the lemon cream, and they water it down till it's drizzling consistency, and you'd be amazed at how far it will go too. So you're not really getting that much fat. And it's really good.
Yeah, and then it doesn't have all the preservatives in it too that the bottle ranch stuff has.
Yes.
And the hydrogenated oils and all that stuff.
So we would like to give special thanks to Red Door Studios, Creative Audio Tech, for our music and recording equipment. We'd also like to thank our loyal listeners, because without you, we would not be here. Also, if you're tuning in, go and check out our blog, because if you don't read our blogs, you're just missing out on half the conversation. Also, check us out on our Facebook group. So, what are we talking about next week?
Next week is just a fun little conversation. As you know, all 3 of us have a lot of different projects, side projects, and activities and hobbies that we do. So we are going to be discussing the different current projects that we're involved in.
Cool.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Okay, guys. Well, tune in next week and have a good day or night whenever you're listening. Bye.